Hi Fam Bam, hi leaders, it's MJ Gordon. Welcome back. Today we're gonna be talking about the perfect diet to help balance your blood sugars. And the reason this is important is because your blood sugars helps dictate your hormones, which also have a huge impact and effect on how much energy you have. If there's a common question that I have aside from how do you heal chronic or adrenal fatigue, it's how do you eat? What is the best diet? And while I can't say that there's a best diet for a specific person, I know that helping to balance out your blood sugars helps drastically when it comes to your energy levels. And this is a topic that we really dive into as well as implementing in your unlimited energy program. So if you're in that program, check the dashboard. We have updated it with the most recent workshop where we dive head deep into the dietary aspect of energy and how it affects one another. If you like these types of videos and you want to stay tuned for more, make sure you subscribe and let me know by hitting the thumbs up button below. I also have this idea about bringing on board some of the experts that have really helped me in my journey out. So let me know in the comments below if you're interested in hearing from other people who specialize in areas like hormones or Chinese herbalism and how it affects our body in relation to energy and fatigue. So a quick update on what's been going on. If you haven't noticed, I have been absent for a week. And what's happened is after we discussed a few weeks ago cutting back on grain or seeing if I can come off, I decided to play with the idea and it didn't go so well. So this time I didn't cut all the grain off, which in a way was kind of worse because I didn't realize what was going on for a little bit longer. But you guys know that I started my trifecta meal plan and I love it, absolutely love it. I have all my meals pre-made and they get delivered and they can do things like paleo, keto, vegan, vegetarian, etc. And I love how conscious they are and how nutrient aware they are as well. So I'll stick that link below. But what I did was I started out with a paleo diet, which is a grain-free diet. And this didn't mean that I didn't eat grains. It just meant that 2 meals out of my day were grain-free, but it probably cut my grains in half to maybe 2/3 less than what I was eating prior. And the first week happened and I was playing volleyball and I was like, gosh, I feel tired, but I thought it was just because I had a really, really busy month last month. And I just said, I just need to rest, and I probably just overdid it and I didn't pay any mind. Then I went a whole another week and everything felt fine. And then by the end of the week, I felt exhausted. And I tried to play volleyball, I tried to do the things I normally did, but I wasn't going to the gym because I just felt like I needed to recoup and restore. And then by Monday, I had like a pretty stressful thing happen, which normally wouldn't stress me out. That's the funny thing is it's like when you're exhausted, little things seem like they're big things. And so this big thing happened and I had this huge response, which would normally be like not that big of a deal, but I had this huge response and boom, I had an adrenal crash, like a legit adrenal crash. And I haven't had an adrenal crash for an entire year. The last time I had an adrenal crash was when I tried cryotherapy. That's where you get into like a -200, -300 degree chamber. And long story short, I thought that I would maximize from the benefits and it ended up just killing my entire system. So that wasn't good for me at that time. And then at this point on Monday, I realized that I had an adrenal crash and I was really kind of questioning whether or not I was really having a crash or not. And it was the weirdest thing. Like when you're fatigued, you kind of don't realize it. But what I realized in the coming days after that was my resilience. I was weepy about little things. I didn't feel like doing anything. I wasn't excited to get out. I didn't want to go to the gym. When I went to the gym, it didn't feel good. Like I was just sort of trying to get by, but it didn't energize me. And it was all those symptoms that we've talked about in the Unlimited Energy and in the Move program that helps you recognize if you're imbalanced and fatigued, and all those things were happening. So once I realized this, I did all the things that we always talk about to restore. I incorporated grain right away. I started putting a 1/2 cup of rice to a cup of rice in every single meal. I also noticed that during this time period, I was eating my maximum total daily expenditures in calorie, even though I wasn't active. So my body actually wanted and needed more food at this time, which I found was interesting. And I also started resting a lot and just really taking it easy. Stress management, stress relief, doing lots of extra things to restore. And it was still somewhat difficult at that time because my schedule was still really packed and I had a lot of things going on and still have a lot of things going on. But I did the best that I could and tried to get to bed early, and then the time change happened, which wasn't cool, but that's okay because things are on the up. And I was able to play volleyball this week, and we played for 6.5 hours, and it was amazing, but I had to make sure that I kept food on hand. If I didn't have food on hand, I knew that I would start to tank. And so it's a little bit different than before, where I could kind of push even though I'm hungry, even though my blood sugars are low, I could push, and then as soon as I eat, I recover. This time I just made sure I had good backup so that I wouldn't crash again. And so it only took about a week to start getting back on track and feeling normal, even though I still have these boundaries. Also, before I forget, I also cut the sugars, and I wasn't really conscious of that at first, because if you have been following the journey, and if you haven't, I highly recommend checking out that Start Healing Now playlist. I talk about how important it was to remove the sugar, because we're talking about balancing blood sugars. So if you want to balance your blood sugar, you don't want things that will cause that spike and cause a really drastic drop. So I didn't eat fruit for like 4 or 5 months, especially high sugar fruits like bananas, which were a staple of my everyday. And still to this day, it's not a staple anymore. I used to eat like 2 to 5 bananas in the morning in my smoothies, and I don't even do that anymore. I have a banana here and there once in a while as a treat. It's not because I think bananas are bad or I'm trying to stay off of them. It's just I realize how important it is to balance blood sugar, and starting your day with 5 bananas is not the best way to do it. So the particular thing that I learned from this scenario, since I researched after realizing the grain withdrawal caused this, is that resistant starch, aka grains, potatoes, peas, certain beans, and lentils, are actually really good in helping regulate the blood sugar. Despite the fact that it is a little bit slow and difficult for your body to digest, it has a direct effect on the NEM stress response, which is what releases cortisol when we are stressed out. And typically, if you're chronically or adrenally fatigued, you have a low response of the NEM stress response. So it actually helps improve that response, as well as in combination with fats and proteins. Good whole healthy fats and proteins makes it even more effective in regulating the blood sugar. This was a light bulb moment for me, because I always just thought it was a particular thing in the protein with the meat, and I realized there's something there that in that combination that I would love to talk to these experts on, and also why I was inspired to think about bringing experts on to learn more exactly why this is happening and why it's so good for the body. But I realized that this particular combination that we talk about, base of grain with lots of vegetables and some sort of meat protein, is super, super effective at supporting the healing phase when you're chronically or adrenally fatigued. So another thing to keep in mind if you want to eat the perfect diet for balancing your blood sugar is to eat regularly throughout the day, small meals a day. I noticed when I had my adrenal crash recently that my body switched right away to wanting this densely grain and veggie based with protein meal, and I wanted it for breakfast. Whereas prior to this, I was already on a really light breakfast. I was doing smoothies again, sometimes I was doing cereal, but I wasn't starting with like hot rice and veggies and meat. And so I had that adrenal crash, and that happened, and I noticed that I would finish only half of my usual meal and sort of munch on it. And it was not on purpose. Like, I just have the meal here and I'm working at my desk, and I noticed it would take me until lunchtime to complete the meal. So it was like I was eating between breakfast and lunch a little at a time while I was working in the office, and it just felt really good. And so I think my body did that based on experience. Like, it just seemed to know, because we've already been through this process. And now as I'm coming out of it, I'm starting to eat more thoroughly. I'm still not finishing the whole meal like I normally would, but I'm actually eating most of it. And then I'm able to save a little bit as a snack in between meals. You also want to make sure that you're eating whole and balanced. What this means is you're eating very minimal processed foods and don't eat fried. Like, I'm not an oil person, so I'm not into the idea of consuming too much oil unless it's naturally in the food, but I wouldn't add oil or cook with oil. And what I mean by balance is that your micro and macronutrients are being met. This is why I love my trifecta meal plan, because they're aware of this whole balance, so I don't have to think about it. I never feel hungry. My needs are met, so my body's not feeling sluggish or drained or slow. And they also cook with fresh, whole organic ingredients that are very, very minimally seasoned or spiced. So everything's super fresh, and you can do this by making sure that you're taking your vitamins and supplements to help meet those micro needs, and you can also track your macronutrients on an app like MyFitnessPal or Evolve. I'll stick those links below. I personally have been liking Evolve because they're able to scan barcodes, or you're able to talk and create your own meals, and I just found it a lot easier than MyFitnessPal. Lastly, you want to make sure you're getting enough water. I can't emphasize this enough. I've been talking about water everywhere this week because water is the quickest, simplest, easiest thing for you to feel good, to get energized. And it's also the simplest, easiest thing to forget about and feel awful. And if your body is not cleansing and it's not moving efficiently and you feel awful, well, how well are you going to be able to handle stress response when you're struggling with it already and you're trying to balance that blood sugar, but also make sure the body is working with ease and efficiency? So make sure that you're getting a lot of water throughout the day. I like to say that if you're active, you live in hot environments, or your brain is active and you're working really hard thinking all day, to shoot for an ounce of body weight a day, body weight in pounds. So if you're 100 pounds, 100 ounces, but at the very minimum, a ½ ounce per body pound of weight if you're not as active or you're not in super hot, dry climate. So that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any other questions or comments, leave them below. Be sure to subscribe. And if you haven't yet, check out that Unlimited Energy program, because we dive deep into all areas to really amplify your energy in life. I appreciate you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. Ciao for now.